Hello everyone, it's Shadow Libra. We have made it to year 9 of FNAF, so here is a review of every FNAF release from August 8th, 2022 to August 7th, 2023. Please leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Or else. Have you ever wanted something badly even though you shouldn't? Steve's dreams of a video game programming career and starting a family lead him to take a job that seems too good to be true. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, be careful what you wish for. Help Wanted, released on September 20th, 2022. Don't confuse this with the VR game Help Wanted. This is the Tales from the Pizzaplex story Help Wanted. Oh yeah, year 9 is very security breach themed, by the way. Anyway, Help Wanted gives us the origins of the indie developer Tape Girl talked about in VR Help Wanted. This is confusing. Anyway, the indie dev was a guy named Steve Snodgrass. He was approached by Fazbear Entertainment to make indie games based on the rumors and paranormal activities. Steve said no at first, but then he got a hot Tinder date asking him to meet up, and then he got gaslit into thinking he married the woman years ago, and that house would get foreclosed on unless he made 4 indie games based on the rumors of Fazbear Entertainment. Steve agrees and literally makes Five Nights at Freddy's, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and Five Nights at Freddy's 3. But at night, he gets attacked by monsters, so he tries to fight back and destroys a smoke detector that makes a loud ringing noise, and he learns he's living with a family of robots. Then Steve is murdered. It was cool learning about the indie dev, although why is it that every time Scott makes a self-insert of himself in the franchise, he always has to die? Seriously, FNAF World 3 times, Freddy in Space 2, Help Wanted, Chica in Space, and if you really want to be an a-hole, Ralph in FNAF 1 is voiced by Scott and he dies. Anyway, Steve's motivations were a little anticlimactic, but it was cool getting more elaboration on the existence of some of the FNAF games also being games in universe. Have you ever wanted something badly, even though you shouldn't? Aiden and Jace can't resist scaring some young kids in the tube maze of Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, be careful what you wish for. Happs, released on September 20th, 2022. Alright, are you ready to hear one of the greatest stories ever told? So 2 kids go in a tube maze and they fail at scaring younger kids. Then they break a robot, they find themselves in a closed off area, and then they get murdered. The story takes forever to just get to the point. One of the most boring things I've ever read, and they try to describe the tube maze in detail, but there's only so much to describe with tubes. Seriously, who thought this story was a good idea? Have you ever wanted something badly, even though you shouldn't? All Billy wants is to become the perfect version of what he knows he really is, an animatronic. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, be careful what you wish for. B7, released on September 20th, 2022. This one is about a kid named Billy who thinks he is an animatronic. He grows up insisting he is one. And when he is older, he even blackens his eyes, gets metal limbs to replace his real ones, puts faceplates in himself. Billy turns himself into a robot until one day, while an adult, he realizes what he's done and he goes to a junkyard to die. I like this one. I think the story does a good job of making it clear Billy should not be doing any of this to himself. But also, I feel like Billy is coping with the reality that humans are fragile. Sometimes humans are meaningless, so he convinces himself he is something with meaning, an animatronic, just to realize he sacrificed making something out of his life in order to live this lie. It's tragic. Amazing story. What are you running from? Sam is afraid of just about anything and everything that's unhealthy ever since his father died. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, our deepest fears have a way of chasing us. Somniphobia, released on December 6, 2022. This story is about Sam, who has fears of lots of things, and his friends make fun of him for it. But the one thing that proves Sam does deserve to be bullied, and that Sam is a loser and he does not deserve happiness, is Sam does not like dogs. Anyway, Sam's friend wins a Moondrop Dream Spear, which pretty much has access to your memories and lets you relive them. It's like some remnant drug machine. Sam has a turn borrowing the Dream Spear, and he uses it to relive memories he has with his dad from years before his dad died. However, you are supposed to use the Dream Spear for only 10 minutes a day. Sam breaks this rule, he gets addicted to it, until Sam gets trapped in a false memory and his actual body is eaten by a dog, but his soul is trapped inside of the Dream Spear. The story is definitely an allegory for drug addiction and how it can destroy your life. Due to Sam's addiction to the spear, he loses his relationship with a lot of his friends and his own mother, just like how drugs can destroy your life so easily. If you do drugs, stop it. You ain't cool. You make yourself look like an idiot. What are you running from? Something about the Springtrap costume in the role-playing area of Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex chills Luca to the core. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, our deepest fears have a way of chasing us. Pressure, released on December 6, 2022. The Mega Pizzaplex has a roleplay area called Urban Legends, where you can dress up as characters from the FNAF 1 to 6 era, or explore maps. Yep, not messed up at all. Anyway, Luca and his friends do one that's a mix of FNAF 1 and FNAF 3. Luca wants to be the guard, but Luca's friends are jerks and force him to be the killer, which is Springtrap. Luca has done research on the Freddy's murders. He is not comfortable dressing up as a real-life serial killer. His friends force him to do it, and turns out someone replaced the Springtrap costume with an actual Springlock suit. Luca's friends don't bother making sure Luca is okay. They leave him when the roleplay is over, and Luca is spring-locked, causing him to die in the Springtrap suit. Until he comes back to life because there is a pedophile trying to lure kids away. Luca gets up and freaking murders the pedo. So that part was cool. I like it when pedos are brutally murdered. Or just bad things in general happen to them. Anyway, Pressure was a cool story involving the spring locks. It's also telling us that when you're spring locked and your soul is disturbed somehow, you, I guess, will come back to life, which is likely what happens to William when he's brought into Fazbear's Fright as Springtrap in FNAF 3. The novels also say William died before coming back to life in Springtrap. What are you running from? Grady's fear of being trapped in small spaces makes working as a Pizzaplex technician extremely challenging. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, our deepest fears have a way of chasing us. Cleithrophobia, released on December 6, 2022. I don't understand the obsession with stories taking place in tubes, but at least this one does not take 20 years to get to the point. This one is about Grady, who hates tight spaces, but is the only one volunteering to test an exercise tube maze. Grady can't fit through the tubes, so Ballora is designed to help him through, but instead she just mangles his body on accident. Yeah, Ballora may be a little buggy. Grady dies. I mean, it was an okay story, but I think Tales has way better stories than this one. Have you ever experienced a gut feeling that told you something was wrong? Caden senses the underwater animatronics in Freddy's Fantasy Water Park have a mind of their own. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, when something feels wrong, it's often too late to do anything about it. Submechanophobia, released on December 27th, 2022. This story is actually pretty good. It's about a guy named Caden who thinks the animatronics at the water park he works at are acting weird. Caden discovers that years ago, a boy drowned inside that tank at the water park, Jason Butterfield. Turns out Jason's soul is haunting the animatronics in the water park. I know it's very spooky dooky. Anyway, the owner of the water park, Martin, he knows and he does not want anyone discovering the truth of Jason Butterfield, so he tries to kill Caden while they are underwater, but the animatronics attack and drown Martin, and everyone is happy. I like that it was just a classic possession story, no added elements to make it more complicated. Submechanophobia was a fun read. Have you ever experienced a gut feeling that told you something was wrong? Robbie knows deep down that the minds of the members of the Fazbear fan club have been taken over by something. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, when something feels wrong, it's often too late to do anything about it. Animatronic Apocalypse, released on December 27th, 2022. This one is interesting, to say the least. It's about Robbie, who is in a club at his school that loves the Pizzaplex, and they talk all the time about preparing for an animatronic apocalypse. What this turns out to actually be is somehow the club gets infected by an agony creature. It infects everyone except Robbie, and it makes the class act like mindless robots who bury themselves in dirt and they eat bugs, and it spreads beyond the club. The entire town becomes obsessed with this animatronic apocalypse. The only way Robbie stops this is by killing the source, his school principal, Mr. Renner, who bleeds black agony blood. That's what I'm calling the black blood agony creatures have. Anyway, this was a creepy story about brainwashing. I love how the world seemed to just suddenly warp around Robbie. This was a good one. Have you ever experienced a gut feeling that told you something was wrong? Abe can't shake the feeling that the animatronic assistants in his Fazplex Tower apartment are hiding things from him. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, when something feels wrong, it's often too late to do anything about it. Bobbiedots Part One, released on December 27th, 2022. This one is so freaking good. It starts off with a homeless man named Abe. However, he has a job as a Pizzaplex technician. He lives in the Roxy Raceway, bringing us this incredible scene of Abe leaving the raceway and walking through Security Breach's lobby. You know, the one with the Freddy statue, and the book goes out of its way to make sure every detail matches up with the actual Security Breach. Not only that, but we learn a lot of the Pizzaplex's history. For example, the daycare attendants, Sun and Moon. Haven't you always thought it was weird they have an animatronic meant to watch toddlers have an evil mode? Well, it's because originally Sun was a stage animatronic with the main band. He had an evil mode called Moon, which turned on whenever the lights went out. Eventually, they moved Sun to the daycare and just never got rid of Moon. That is also why the daycare is full of generators. It's in case of the event that Moon activates because the lights are out. We also learn quite a bit about DJ Music Man. The one we see in Security Breach is actually the second DJ Music Man. We never seen the first one before. The new and improved DJ Music Man has a security system called a bouncer mode, which I guess makes him murder intruders. The bouncer mode is a bit buggy, obviously. It was not the original intention. Anyway, in Security Breach, Gregory accidentally activates that bouncer mode, which is what caused DJ Music Man to chase after him. We even see in this book the bouncer mode goes off and DJ Music Man throws his hand in the restroom to attack Abe, and a new Pizzaplex employee he's teaching stuff to. There's also a cool scene where Abe is in Phaser Blast. Nothing that important, but I just really like how clear this book is about what continuity it is in. No, what I said was not meant to be subtle. I tried to avoid the continuity debate while talking about frights, but with Tales, I think it's literally just a fact they are in the games. Anyway, the main story has Abe earn an apartment at the Fazplex Tower. The Fazplex Tower is a place where the Pizzaplex allows its best employees to live. However, there is only one empty apartment and Abe is told he is not allowed to use it. So Abe steals a keycard and sneaks into the apartment, just to discover his apartment has the Bobbiedots. 3 anime-like girls, a pink one named 3, a blue one named 1, and a green one named 2. They have numbers instead of names. Abe thinks this is kind of dehumanizing, so he decides to give the Bobbiedots actual names: Rose, Gemini, and Olive. Rose loves cooking and food, Gemini likes music, Olive is the nerdy one. Abe has fun with the Bobbiedots until he almost gets boiled alive, and the garbage disposal goes off right before Abe puts his hand in it. Cool beans, this is only part 1, but oh boy, will I have some things to say about part 2. Would you ever cut corners to get what you want? Tony's search for the player behind the impossibly high scores at the Pizzaplex Fazcade leads him down a rabbit hole with no way out. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, sometimes a shortcut can lead to a dead end. GGY, released on March 7th, 2023, the first 2023 FNAF release. I only mention that because 2023 has been getting called the year of FNAF ever since the release of Pizza Sim. And you know what, considering we got the movie that year, it kinda did end up being the year of FNAF in real life too. Anyway, Tony is a school kid with 2 friends whose names are suspiciously hidden. Tony wants to learn who the one getting the high scores on the Pizzaplex arcades is. They are all labeled with GGY. Tony asks around about GGY. He asks guests, employees, even people online. It gets to the point where Tony looks at the Pizzaplex records in secret, finding out GGY may be someone at his own school. Tony sneaks into his school at night and finds histories of school counselors who have all mysteriously gone missing. All these school counselors were names Tony found in the Pizzaplex associated with GGY, and that they followed GGY in the Pizzaplex before disappearing. Remember the security breach tapes? The Patient 46 mystery? GGY is Patient 46, and they lured away and killed the therapists. After Tony discovers all this, his friend gets a name reveal. Gregory invites him to the Pizzaplex. Yeah, the reveal is huge. Gregory is Patient 46. Hey, I'm glad there are no more debates about it now. It's so funny how heated Patient 46 debates would get. Then, when GGY came out, literally everyone accepted it was Gregory and moved on. I think it's highly likely Gregory was possessed by Glitchtrap and was freed sometime before the events of Security Breach. I am also a believer in the Greg victim theory. Sort of. While there is no possible way for Gregory and Garrett to literally be the same people, and I believe Gregory is an actual human, not a robot, what I think is Glitchtrap is trying to recreate William Afton's family in a way. Not his literal family, but his animatronic family. That explains why Glitchtrap controls the glam rocks. It's just like how William used to influence the spirits of the missing children. Vanessa would be forced to act like Elizabeth, a servant who would do anything for Afton, while Gregory would be forced to act like Garrett, who, based on what we learn from FNAF World and the movie, Garrett is also influenced by William Afton. Anyway, GGY is pretty cool for just dropping the Patient 46 reveal. Overall, I think Book 5 of Tales is absolutely peak, which is why I want to talk about the other 2 stories. Would you ever cut corners to get what you want? Outsourcing their storytelling to artificial intelligence comes with unintended results for the executives of the Fazbear Entertainment Board of Directors. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, sometimes a shortcut can lead to a dead end. The Storyteller, released on March 7th, 2023. I am not a fan of the way AI is used these days, replacing real artists, animators, voice actors. I'm very much against it. While yes, good can come out of AI, the way it's currently being used is not good. The Storyteller feels like an allegory for that. The start of the story is the Fazbear Entertainment Board of Directors talking about how they can be creative with the stories at the Pizzaplex. Everyone agrees that they should use artificial intelligence to create these new stories, and that way they could lay off many human workers and save money. Everyone on the board is in favor of this, everyone except for Edwin Murray. Edwin's only contribution to the whole project is saying the type of tree to make the Storyteller should be a baobab. A giant baobab is built in the center of the Pizzaplex, and its branches connect to everything in the building, including the animatronics. The Storyteller makes the animatronics act differently. They start to act more aggressive to customers. Edwin tries to find out what program the Storyteller runs on to find out it's Mimic 1. Edwin freaks out and panics because, well, we don't know what makes Edwin panic so much. My guess is it will be explained in next year's game, Secret of the Mimic. I played the demo at PAX, and that game 100% is taking place in Edwin's factory. Anyway, Edwin tries to break into the Storyteller tree just for the head of the board to lock Edwin in there. Edwin dies. Mr. Burrows, the board's head and chairman, goes into the Storyteller tree to check on Edwin, and then he is locked in there too and dies. Mr. Burrows was being kinda stupid. Again, I like how the start was an allegory for how bad AI has gotten, though this story mainly just felt like a teaser for future stories such as The Mimic, Tiger Rock, and even Secret of the Mimic, I guess. I liked it though. Now it's time for my favorite Tales from the Pizzaplex story. Would you ever cut corners to get what you want? Abe's journey to find the first generation animatronics causing problems for his Bobbidot home assistants leads him to believe he should have never moved into this new apartment. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, sometimes a shortcut can lead to a dead end. Bobbiedots Conclusion, released on March 7th, 2023. Here we are, my favorite Tales from the Pizzaplex story. Out of all 26 of them, Bobbiedots Conclusion is my favorite. This story is a continuation to Bobbiedots Part One. This is the conclusion to that story. It starts off with Abe in the sewers. He is searching for Gen 1 Bobbidot animatronic. The Bobbiedots claim the bad things happening to Abe in the apartment is due to the Gen 1 Bobbiedots, who were shut down because they don't understand how to properly help people. Abe is unable to find a Gen 1, but he does find an old Glamrock Chica, destroyed because it was in the trash compactor, along with a discontinued Mr. Hippo magnet. That explains why Fazbear Entertainment gave them out for free in Security Breach. It's discontinued, and they probably have way too much of those lying around. Abe starts to doubt the Gen 1 Bobbiedots being real until one night he sneaks out of his room and finds a Gen 1 animatronic walking around, and it screams, running right at Abe. Abe locks himself in his room. Abe meets a girl named Sasha. They start dating and she gets along well with the Bobbiedots. Also, this is not that important to the overall story, but Sasha and Abe go to Bonnie Bowl. Anyway, Abe tells Sasha that the owner of the apartment before him was a guy named Landon Prout. who has pretty much vanished. They are unable to make contact with him. Sasha wants to stay the night because she wants to see the behavior of the Gen 1 Bobbiedots. Sasha observes that the Gen 1s are not actually evil like Abe and the Gen 2s accuse them of being. Instead, there are traps set around the apartment that will kill Abe, but the Gen 1s destroy the traps, keeping Abe safe. The Gen 1s are not evil at all. It was the Gen 2s the entire time. The Gen 2s are the ones that are evil and are trying to kill Abe. After the reveal is made, the Gen 2s start throwing chairs, silverware, knives, literally anything at Abe and Sasha. The two make it up to the attic, where they find the Gen 1s hiding out. They ask about the previous apartment owner, Landon Prout, to which the Gen 1s say they killed him. The Gen 1's duty is to protect the tenant, but they also must protect the Fazplex Tower. Landon may have been the tenant, but he was planning to burn down the tower, meaning the Gen 1's only option was to kill him. Since Abe is the new tenant, the Gen 1s are trying to keep him safe from the Gen 2s. The apartment floods, and Abe and Sasha manage to kill the Gen 2s. The apartment is then repaired. It turns out the reason the Gen 2 Bobbiedots were so evil is because they were an experimental version of the Bobbiedots. The experiment made the Gen 2s believe they are above humans, which is why they wanted to kill Abe. However, they were also fascinated by humans, which is why they pretended to be his friend for as long as they did. Abe and Sasha live in the Fazplex Tower together now, while they repair the Gen 1s and even name them after queens. 3 is named Victoria, 1 is named Elizabeth, and 2 is named Isabella. The reason I love the Bobbiedots story so much is because the characters are so unique. Most of the frights, tales, and even the games themselves just have silent animatronics coming after you. I mean, the silence is creepy, sure, but one of the reasons I praise games like Sister Location and Security Breach as much as I do is because the animatronics actually talk. They have an established personality to them. I personally love that. This is one of the main reasons I am as interested in the Bobbiedots as I am. The scene where Abe and Sasha talk to the Gen 1s is one of the coolest scenes I have ever read in a FNAF book. I also love the extra story bits such as Sun and Moon origins, DJ Music Man origins, an explanation on the Mr. Hippo magnet of all things. The way it was all done ended up working so well. Also, look at this, the book even has the Bobbiedots drawn on the back of it. Though I kind of prefer the way I imagine them looking when I read this. Can you keep a secret? Astrid doesn't tell anyone about the strange things her Bobbietronic doll has been up to. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, secrets never stay hidden for long. Nexie, released on May 2nd, 2023. This is about a girl named Astrid who creates a Bobbietronic at the Pizzaplex. She tries to design it in her mom's image and name it Lexie. But the Baobab tree malfunctions and the Mimic 1 program infects a bunch of stuff in the Pizzaplex, so Lexie gets messed up, turning her into the doll on the cover of the book. And she is called Nexie. Since Nexie is infected by Mimic 1, she has some evil intentions. Astrid is bullied at school, so in return, Nexie mauls the bully and kills him. 10 out of 10 doll. Wish I had a Bobbietronic infected with Mimic 1 back in middle school. 2018 me probably would have chosen Springtrap. Anyway, Nexie goes from a 10 to a 0 because she takes Astrid to the Pizzaplex, cuts her up, and turns Astrid into a Bobbietronic. This story felt very similar to the horror movie that came out the same year as this story, Megan, which is kind of funny because just like the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, Megan is also a Blumhouse film. But both Megan and Nexie are dolls that have corrupted AI controlling them. They get back at and kill anyone who they think has wronged them. I think the Megan similarities is why I like this story. Speaking of which, there are 2 Blumhouse movies in 2025 I am guaranteed to watch. The first is Five Nights at Freddy's 2, obviously, and the second is Megan 2.0. Can you keep a secret? Kara convinces a Pizzaplex employee no one will know if he lets her spend a little more time in the VR attraction. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, secrets never stay hidden for long. Drowning, released on May 2nd, 2023. This one is about a girl named Kara who is at the Pizzaplex with her friends. They are checking out the VR booth. Kara wants to do the water park map while her friends want to do the roller coaster. They make her do the roller coaster, but Kara convinces an employee to let her check out the water park for a bit. The employee forgets to set a time to have the VR attraction stop. Because of that, Kara is stuck in the water park for a long time. For so long, in fact, that the freaky deaky mimic shows up. I'm not sure if it's Glitch Trap or if it's just a random branch of the Mimic 1 code. It's most likely Glitch Trap though. Anyway, Glitch Trap poses as Cassidy and haunts Kara and drowns her while she's in the VR booth, and Kara dies wompy womp. This story is okay. While it's cool seeing a version of Cassidy haunt the crap out of someone, the story kinda doesn't feel like it adds anything new to the table for Tales. It's not bad, but it isn't my favorite. Can you keep a secret? A Fazbear Entertainment engineer's custom project has surprises in store for anyone who encounters it. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, secrets never stay hidden for long. The Mimic, released on May 2nd, 2023. The Mimic has become a meme within the community. However, this story is very good. It's about Edwin Murray, the guy from the Storyteller. His wife is dead, and he has a son to take care of, David. Edwin tries really hard for David, but due to his job, he isn't even able to live in a house. Instead, he has to live in his own factory where he works in order to make sure David was taken care of. Edwin, even though he was so behind on projects he owed to Fazbear Entertainment, he took extra time to build a torso with a head to play with David. He called it Mimic and gave it the program Mimic 1. Now David can have a friend while Edwin works. Mimic and David would play with a white tiger plush, they'd eat cereal together, play dress up. It was so sweet. Mimic, while mainly copying what it sees David do, over time, the Mimic would start responding to things on its own. But one morning, David ran outside into some traffic and he was hit. Filled with grief and rage over his son, Edwin was furious when he saw the Mimic still acting like David. Edwin grabbed some tools and beat the Mimic to a pulp, destroying every inch of it. Edwin's murderous thoughts poured into the Mimic and its programming. Fazbear Entertainment sends people to Edwin's factory to... So I would always forget the reason they were sent, until I just now looked in the book and, well, they don't even understand what they were supposed to do. So yeah, that explains why I can never remember the reasoning. Anyway, the Mimic hides in costumes, you know, like David used to dress up. And the Mimic would hang his victims, just like David hanging up his clothes. Oh, and it would force people to fit in the fridge, you know, because David always put his food leftovers in the fridge. I love how the Mimic is killing people, but the way he is killing people copies the way he used to play with David. While my thoughts on the Mimic in general are pretty mixed, I will say the Mimic is genuinely a really cool character, and I love how the Endo kills people in creative ways. Like the Storyteller, this story is a lot of setup. It takes place before literally any other FNAF event, which is crazy. This is the earliest thing in the entire FNAF timeline, which would mean when Secret of the Mimic is out, if you're one of those weirdos who likes to play FNAF in timeline order, don't worry, I'm one of those weirdos too. Secret of the Mimic will be the first game you play. Edwin's character is very tragic. He's had a rough life, and I really feel sorry for him when he loses the one person he has left. David. Have you ever had something stuck in your head? After a session in the VR booth at the Mega Pizzaplex, Kai can't shake the feeling that the tiger animatronic has somehow stayed with him. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, truth is often scarier than fiction. Tiger Rock, released on July 18th, 2023. Yeah, I'll be honest, this probably was not the intention, but with the release of the Storyteller and the Mimic both showing the Mimic 1 program being represented as a white tiger, and then the cover story for the next book was Tiger Rock, I'll be honest, this story felt super anticlimactic. All Tiger Rock is a branch of Mimic 1 who attacks a kid named Kai and traps his spirit in a warped reality. I mean, the concept itself is actually really cool. However, I think with the context of, both the Storyteller and the Mimic, I was expecting a lot more. Basically, Tiger Rock traps Kai in a time loop and he kills Kai over and over again. What is it with FNAF and time loops? Have you ever had something stuck in your head? A new attraction at the Mega Pizzaplex leaves Kane's mind full of intrusive thoughts that are not his own. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, truth is often scarier than fiction. The Monty Within, released on July 18th, 2023. Kane Carter vs. Montgomery Gator real? The Monty Within is freaking hilarious. It's about a kid named Kane who plays a food fight game at the Pizzaplex with his brother, where you get to pick your character. Kane chooses Orville Elephant, but then he was also given a partner for his team. That partner was Monty. However, Glitch Trappy Trap is in the game, and as Monty, he went into Kane's head. He made Kane say a lot of impulsive things, causing him to be rude to the people around him, including Kane's girlfriend, which causes a breakup. We learn in the Monty Within that Glitch Trap does not take over a person's mind completely, only half of their brain. When he possessed Vanessa, Glitch Trap was only able to control half of Vanessa's brain. You see, the right hemisphere of our brain is our actual sentience, while the left hemisphere works like an AI. This is actually based on a real-life study about how our brains work. Glitch Trap controls the left side of Vanessa's brain, while Vanessa's right side is still in control. Same deal when he possesses Kane. That explains why Vanessa is said to be a reluctant follower. She is not doing anything Glitch Trap makes her do willingly. Kane tries to fight back against Monty, so Monty cuts out Kane's part of the brain with a saw. Great story. I thought Monty was super funny, although I find it weird how this, and I guess Somniphobia as well, are the only Tales stories to focus on one of the security breach animatronics. Have you ever had something stuck in your head? Danny's idea to get the attention of his high school crush comes with unimaginable consequences. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, truth is often scarier than fiction. Bleeding Heart, released on July 18th, 2023. This story is dark, so Danny has a crush on a girl named Daisy. However, she never really notices him. Danny does notice, however, Daisy has a tattoo. So Danny gives himself a tattoo on accident though. Yeah, this dude stole tattoo robots at the Pizzaplex, and now they live inside him and will perform any tattoo he asks for. Anyway, Danny gives himself tattoos. Turns out Daisy is freaking obsessed with tattoos. I mean, we all have our hobbies. People probably think my obsession is weird, so I won't be too mean to Daisy. However, when Danny and Daisy go to a tattoo convention or something, Danny gets upset because Daisy is not paying too much attention to him. So he does the most messed up thing I've ever seen a FNAF protagonist do, and the main character in the games accidentally killed his brother. Danny says he wants all the tattoos, and the tattoo bots give him all the tattoos at the same time, causing Danny's body to be mutilated. Ew. Yeah, that's messed up. I feel bad for Daisy because she's probably gonna be traumatized for the rest of her life now. Anyway, Bleeding Heart is a relatable story in some aspects, so I quite liked it. Apparently, most of the fandom hates this one, to which I say, You're wrong. My opinion is the valid opinion. I'm joking. Let's review my favorite DLC in the FNAF series now.
Cassie, I hope you get this message. I'm trapped here at the Pizzaplex, or what's left of it. I don't have time to go into how I got here, but you've got to help me out. Save me, Cassie, please. It's so dark down here. Don't give up on me yet.
Ruin, released on July 25th, 2023. We have only 3 DLC releases for FNAF, so not a lot of them, but nonetheless, my favorite FNAF DLC is Ruin. You play as Cassie, a young girl who is friends with Gregory, the player character in the base game Security Breach. Cassie has received a message from Gregory saying he is trapped inside the sinkhole under Roxy Raceway. Cassie communicates to Gregory using a Roxy talkie. Fact about Cassie, out of all the characters at the Mega Pizzaplex, her favorite is Roxanne Wolf. Roxy is also my favorite Security Breach character. What's really cool about Ruin is, unlike Security Breach, Ruin chooses to have a much more linear environment, meaning the game feels more like a straight path rather than trying to navigate through an empty void. Each area is shown to be absolutely destroyed. Apparently the backstory for what's going on is the Blob broke out of the sinkhole and destroyed the Pizzaplex. Dang it, Blob! He's always ruining everything. Anyway, look at all this stuff that was in Security Breach before, but now it's destroyed. We have Monty Golf, which is now inhabited by something that only vaguely resembles Monty anymore. It's just an endo with arms now. Glamrock Chica pretty much looks the same, however, if you take a look at Roxy, she is not okay. She can no longer see since Gregory has taken out her eyes. She is hungry for revenge on Gregory for absolutely ruining her. In fact, Monty and Chica, even though we don't hear them talking, chances are they are also vengeful towards Gregory for what he did to them in Security Breach. The daycare looks like an absolute mess, and it is such a maze to get around. Knowing that an extremely damaged moon is in there makes it very unsettling. The Monty catwalks can be stressful to go through, as you make one wrong move and you slip right off the catwalks and to your doom. The game over for it is pretty funny though. The beauty salon, kitchen, Fazzer Blast, Bonnie Bowl, they all have similar vibes. It's all abandoned. It's all ruined. The Pizzaplex was a place that gave families joy. Kids, teens, even grown-ups loved the Pizzaplex. They would spend weekends there. They'd do whatever they could while at the Pizzaplex. They loved these characters too, but now look at what this place has become. This is no longer a place any family can enjoy. It's a place for teens to party or do drugs. It's a place for vandals, drunks, vagrants. In fact, we can see how vandalized the place has gotten over time. Each area has different enemies. Monty Golf and the catwalks have you face Monty, the daycare has you against the endos, the beauty salon and the kitchen has you face to face with Glamrock Chica, then there's Bonnie Bowl. Bonnie Bowl is scary because you have to avoid the tiny wind-up music men, and if one sees you, you're absolutely screwed. Because these things are fast, and when there's a swarm of them, they can be pretty tough to avoid. A lot of the mechanics in this game have you lure the animatronics places using a replica of your voice. It's pretty similar to FNAF 3, but the most fun part about this game is the Vanny mask. At the start of the game, a staff bot hands Cassie a Vanny mask, which has a program in it called Helpy, who claims he will guide you in order to find Gregory. What Cassie does not realize is the last piece of Glitchtrap's code, the one remaining piece still trying to cling on to reality, it is inside of the Vanny mask, and it wants Cassie to be Vanessa's replacement. Vanessa was freed at the end of Security Breach, so now Glitchtrap is trying to make a comeback. He no longer controls the Glam Rocks, he controls nothing, except for a small part of him being in the Vanny network, and Cassie is his next victim. While wearing the Vanny mask, you get to look in the AR world, interact with objects that you can't see normally, walk through invisible floors, walk through walls. The amount you can do wearing that Vanny mask is incredible. You follow Gregory's voice, breaking the security nodes that are keeping Gregory trapped under the raceway. But while doing this, a program called Mexis tries to stop you. Thankfully, Mexis is not a threat if you aren't wearing the mask, which makes portions of the game where you are not allowed to take the Vanny mask off that much scarier. Ruin can be a really stressful game at some points, but I think the biggest betrayal is when you're in Phaser Blast. You find Glamrock Freddy and he chases you down, not hesitating to kill you. This is no longer the superstar loving bear, this is Rage Bear, and he's hunting you. Luckily he's headless, so he's pretty easy to escape. However, the game still does give you a friend. Turns out Cassie has a great friendship with Roxy, but in order to free Gregory, Roxy is the last node. You can tell how hurt Cassie is that she had to shut down her favorite animatronic. She heads to the sinkhole. While doing that, the Helpy program mysteriously goes offline. I'll just say now, Glitchtrap got defeated at that moment. More on that when I talk about Help Wanted 2. So, Glitchtrap is now dead, and Cassie is under Roxy Raceway. And she finds the burned down remains of Pizzeria Simulator. She finds Candy Cadet in there, and as she heads deeper, she shuts Mexis down, and she finds Gregory. Well, not exactly. It was not Gregory talking to Cassie at all. Instead, it was the Mimic. The Mimic has been trapped under the Pizzaplex for a very long time, and he has a program to run. In the Tales from the Pizzaplex epilogues, the Mimic is running under a program saying he must break all limbs off of any endoskeleton he sees. However, the Mimic does not know the difference between endoskeletons and people. The program from the epilogues is clearly still running during Ruin. The Mimic called Cassie down here so he can escape the room he's sealed up in and break an extra endo, Cassie. The Mimic chase is terrifying if you have read the Tales epilogues before playing it, because if you have read those epilogues, you know exactly what happens if the Mimic catches you. He will break off your arms, your legs, he will rip your head off. Cassie gotta get out of there quick. She rushes to an elevator, only to hear the real Gregory speak to her, and he kills Cassie because he would rather sacrifice her than risk the Mimic escaping and potentially killing more people. It's the trolley problem. The game wants us to think Cassie and Roxy are dead by the end of it, but personally, I'm not convinced. I do have some predictions on how I think things will continue whenever Steelwool picks up this plot point. I think a lot of things in Security Breach, Ruin, and Help Wanted 2 hints that the Pizza Sim restaurant is a repurposed Fredbear's. Remember what's under Fredbear's Family Diner? Circus, Babies, Entertainment, and Rentals. An alternate ending to Ruin has you go inside of the scooping room where you watch the Mimic get scooped. Circus Babies is 100% below the Pizzaplex, and I hope we visit it in whatever sequel Ruin gets. I also hope I'm right about Cassie and Roxy still being alive, because I'd love to have a game where those two have a wholesome friendship and help each other. Roxy as a partner in a FNAF game sounds amazing. Anyway, I really enjoy Ruin. It is so much better than Security Breach in my opinion, and I was one of the people who liked Security Breach. Seeing the Pizzaplex in the game and reading all these tale stories about the Pizzaplex made seeing it in disrepair really sad. That was a review of every single Year 9 FNAF release. Oh my gosh, that was a lot. Year 9 was very Security Breach themed, it seems like. Literally everything in this video was a Tales from the Pizzaplex story plus Security Breach's DLC. Kinda cool that Year 9 had a theme, even if it was not intentional. Anyway, my favorite Year 9 FNAF release is Ruin. I just love that game so much. It better get continued. Now, thank you all for watching. We have 1 year left. Year 10. See you all soon.